The deep space reconnaissance vessel Stellar Sentinel hung like a shadow against the cosmic backdrop, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. Captain Krelak studied the holographic display with increasing intensity, his four-fingered hands manipulating translucent data streams that flickered and danced around him. Earth, a deceptively simple name for a planet that was rapidly becoming the most complex anomaly in the Zorn Confederation's extensive galactic database. The initial long-range scans had been mundane enough. Another terrestrial planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star in a relatively quiet sector of the Orion Arm. Preliminary atmospheric readings suggested carbon-based life, moderate technological development. Nothing remarkable by galactic standards. But something was different. Junior science officer Zara Vex couldn't shake the growing sense of unease that had settled over the bridge. Her secondary sensory cluster, a sophisticated biological array that allowed Vornarian researchers to detect subtle environmental nuances, was vibrating with an almost imperceptible tension. "Captain," she announced, her translation implant converting her native clicking language into smooth standard galactic communication. "The planetary scan is unusual." Krelax turned, his iridescent carapace shifting colors slightly, a biological tell that signaled heightened curiosity. "Unusual how, Officer Vex?" She manipulated the holographic display, pulling apart layers of data like a surgeon dissecting a complex organism. Planetary maps materialized, covered in intricate networks of light that pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. Cities, communication grids, transportation systems, but not like any the Zorn Confederation had previously encountered. Most developing civilizations showed predictable patterns, centralized infrastructure, uniform technological progression, careful, measured expansion. This was different. The human networks were chaotic, unpredictable. Multiple independent systems that seemed to compete and cooperate simultaneously, forming and reforming like a living neural network. Some regions displayed hyper-advanced technological clusters existing mere kilometers from areas that appeared technologically primitive by comparison. The communication patterns, Zura continued, they're not just transmission of information. They're hunting something. A ripple of confusion passed through the bridge crew. Hunting. Communication didn't hunt. But the data was clear. These human communication networks behaved like predatory systems. They probed, analyzed, adapted. Each transmission was not just an exchange of information, but a strategic exploration of potential opportunities, threats, and resources. The reconnaissance drone, a marvel of Vornarian stealth and sensor technology, descended through Earth's atmosphere. Its quantum-encrypted data streams began flooding the Stellar Sentinel's primary analysis systems. Images resolved. Urban landscapes that defied simple categorization. Massive concrete and steel structures rising from landscapes that showed signs of both extreme technological manipulation and surprising biological diversity. Highways that carved through natural terrain like purposeful neural pathways. Agricultural systems that demonstrated a ruthless efficiency in resource extraction and manipulation. "Look at their agricultural technology," muttered senior analyst Kren, zooming into satellite imagery of farming regions. "They don't just cultivate. They strategically modify entire ecosystems to maximize output. It's not farming. It's ecological warfare against scarcity." The drone's thermal and electromagnetic sensors painted an even more complex picture. Multiple independent power generation systems, redundant communication networks, military installations that seemed designed not just for defense, but for rapid, flexible response to undefined threats. Krelax felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of space exploration: genuine uncertainty. "These aren't just technological systems," he said softly, more to himself than to the crew. "These are adaptive organisms. The entire planetary infrastructure behaves like a living, breathing predatory system." Zara's sensory cluster was now vibrating at a frequency that suggested pure, unadulterated scientific excitement, mixed with a primal sense of potential threat. Captain, their technological development isn't linear. It's exponential. And it's driven by something more complex than simple survival or expansion. The bridge fell silent. On the main display, a series of human communication signals danced, each one a potential window into a species that was rapidly proving to be unlike anything the Zorn Confederation had ever encountered. First contact was going to be anything but routine. Dr. Emily Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, the holographic research display casting a soft blue glow across her features. Stacks of digital files surrounded her workstation, centuries of human history compressed into quantum-encrypted data streams that would challenge even the most advanced alien analysis systems. The Zorn Confederation's research facility orbited at the edge of the solar system, close enough to study, far enough to remain undetected. Every piece of human data was a puzzle, every historical record a potential weapon of understanding. "They're not what we expected," she muttered, reviewing another set of historical records. Most galactic civilizations develop through careful, measured progression, cooperative survival, gradual technological advancement, peaceful expansion. Humans were different. Catastrophically, brilliantly different. Their history was a relentless narrative of conflict, innovation, and survival that defied every known sociological model. Where other species saw challenges as obstacles, humans saw opportunities for transformation. The prehistoric records were particularly revealing. Early human ancestors hadn't just survived, they had systematically eliminated competing species. Neanderthals, other hominid groups, large predatory animals. Nothing stood in their way. Each challenge became a catalyst for technological and social innovation. Dr. Rodriguez zoomed into a detailed analysis of human warfare. It wasn't just about territorial expansion or resource acquisition. Each conflict was a complex ecosystem of technological development, psychological manipulation, and strategic thinking that transcended traditional military concepts. The World War II period especially caught her attention. In less than a decade, a species previously limited to relatively primitive technologies had developed nuclear weapons, advanced aircraft, complex communication systems, and unprecedented industrial capabilities. They had transformed global conflict into a multidimensional chess match that rewrote the rules of technological development. "Look at this," she called to her research partner, Dr. William Thompson, who was analyzing human economic systems. The data showed how humans turned limitations into opportunities with terrifying efficiency. Economic depressions became catalysts for massive technological innovations. Resource scarcity drove breakthrough scientific developments. Each global challenge was met with a combination of creativity, aggression, and collaborative problem-solving that seemed almost organic in its complexity. "It's like their entire civilization is a living predatory system," Thompson observed, studying a complex graph showing technological innovation rates. "They don't just adapt. They actively hunt for ways to overcome any limitation." The psychological profiles were even more disturbing. Human creativity wasn't just a biological trait. It was a survival mechanism that had been honed through millennia of competitive evolution. Their ability to understand and manipulate complex systems went far beyond simple problem-solving. A series of historical case studies demonstrated this unique trait: the space race, the digital revolution, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence development. Each technological leap was achieved through a combination of competitive drive, collaborative innovation, and an almost pathological desire to push beyond existing limitations. Most fascinating was their approach to artificial intelligence. While other galactic civilizations approached AI with extreme caution, humans dove in with a blend of creativity and ruthless pragmatism. They didn't just develop intelligent systems, they created entire ecosystems of technological innovation that could adapt and evolve at unprecedented rates. They view technology as an extension of their own evolutionary process, Rodriguez noted, highlighting a section of her analysis. Not a tool, not a weapon, but a living, breathing mechanism of survival and expansion. The research team had discovered something even more alarming. Human innovation wasn't driven by a single centralized approach. Their technological development was a decentralized, almost chaotic system where multiple independent groups competed and collaborated simultaneously. Corporate research laboratories, university research centers, independent inventors, government projects, each worked both in competition and in subtle collaboration, creating a technological ecosystem that was infinitely more adaptive than any centralized system. Dr. Thompson pulled up a comparative chart showing technological innovation rates across different galactic civilizations. The human curve wasn't just steeper, it was exponential, defying every known predictive model. "They're not just developing technology," he whispered. "They're hunting the future." As the research continued, one thing became increasingly clear. Humans weren't just another species in the galactic ecosystem. They were a fundamental disruption, a force of nature that didn't just adapt to challenges, but actively sought them out, transformed them, and emerged stronger with each encounter. The Zorn Confederation's preliminary report would change everything. And humanity didn't even know it yet. The research chamber aboard the Zorn Confederation vessel was eerily quiet. Holographic displays flickered with human hunting records, each image and data point revealing a species that had transformed predation into an art form beyond physical limitations. Senior analyst Marcus Chen manipulated the display, his three-fingered hands moving with practiced precision. Centuries of human hunting documentation unfolded before the research team, a narrative that defied every known xenobiological classification. "This isn't hunting," he muttered, zooming into a detailed analysis of human predatory behavior. "This is something else entirely." Traditional galactic understanding of hunting was simple. Species hunted for immediate survival, food acquisition, territorial protection, threat elimination. Humans had transformed this primitive concept into a multidimensional strategy that permeated every aspect of their existence. The earliest evidence came from prehistoric records. Not content with being simple gatherer-hunters, early humans had systematically eliminated competing species. Large predators that once dominated their ecosystem, saber-toothed cats, massive cave bears, competing hominid groups, all fell before human innovation. But it wasn't brute strength that defined their hunting prowess. It was intelligence, strategy, an unprecedented ability to understand and manipulate environmental systems. Dr. Emily Rodriguez pulled up a comprehensive analysis of human weapon technologies. Each technological development was a hunting strategy refined to terrifying perfection. The precision rifles that could eliminate a target from kilometers away weren't just weapons. They were extensions of a complex psychological hunting system. Thermal imaging, wind calculations, ballistic trajectory predictions. Each shot was a culmination of scientific understanding transformed into a lethal art form. Drone technologies revealed an even more disturbing pattern. Humans had developed systems that could track movement through physical barriers, predict behavioral patterns, and neutralize targets with surgical precision. These weren't just military technologies. They were hunting systems that transformed entire concepts of predation. "Look at their marine hunting technologies," Dr. William Thompson pointed out, highlighting a series of advanced sonar and tracking systems. Whaling industries had developed technologies so precise they could track individual marine animals across entire ocean basins, not for immediate survival, but as a demonstration of technological mastery. Cyber warfare technologies painted an even more complex picture. Humans hunted information with the same precision they hunted physical targets. Sophisticated networks that could penetrate secure systems, extract critical data, and manipulate entire communication infrastructures. A junior researcher gasped as she analyzed historical records of economic warfare. "They hunt resources like other species hunt prey," she whispered. Economic sanctions, trade manipulations, technological embargoes. Each was a hunting strategy that eliminated competitors without firing a single physical projectile. They didn't just compete. They strategically dismantled entire economic ecosystems. The most chilling revelation came from their space exploration technologies. Humans didn't just explore space. They hunted opportunities with a relentlessness that bordered on the pathological. Satellite networks that could map entire planetary surfaces in unprecedented detail. Space probes designed to hunt for the most minute signs of resources or potential habitable environments. Mars rovers that could track geological changes with microscopic precision. Each technological development was a hunting strategy. Each innovation a way of extending their predatory capabilities beyond traditional biological limitations. Dr. Rodriguez's comprehensive analysis revealed a fundamental truth. Humans weren't physical apex predators in the traditional sense. They were cognitive apex predators, a species that hunted ideas, opportunities, and potential futures with a precision that defied comprehension. Their hunting behavior wasn't confined to physical or technological domains. It extended to intellectual and cultural spaces, academic competition, scientific research, technological innovation. Each field became an arena of strategic pursuit. The most alarming aspect was their adaptability. Where other species developed specialized hunting strategies, humans created entire ecosystems of hunting technologies. If one approach failed, they would rapidly develop alternative strategies. Biological hunting became technological hunting. Physical hunting transformed into information hunting. Resource acquisition became a complex, multidimensional strategy that could adapt to any environment. The psychological warfare analysis chamber was a study in controlled tension. Holographic displays covered every surface, each one revealing layers of human communication, manipulation, and strategic thinking that went far beyond traditional conflict models. Dr. Rachel Henderson stood at the center of the room, her fingers tracing complex interaction patterns that defied conventional understanding. Captain Michael Harrison's military files had become their Rosetta Stone, a comprehensive map of human psychological manipulation that terrified and fascinated the Zorn Confederation researchers. "This isn't just warfare," Henderson muttered, zooming into a complex network of historical diplomatic exchanges. "This is psychological architecture." Humans had transformed conflict into a multidimensional chess match where physical combat was merely the most visible, and often least important, component of their strategic toolkit. The earliest evidence came from ancient diplomatic records. Negotiation wasn't about mutual agreement. It was a complex dance of psychological positioning, where each conversation became a carefully constructed battlefield of influence and manipulation. Take the Cold War era, a masterclass in psychological warfare that went far beyond traditional military confrontation. Two global powers had engaged in a decades-long conflict that was fought primarily through information, economic pressure, and psychological manipulation. Military strength was almost secondary to the ability to control narrative, create fear, and manipulate global perception. Dr. William Thompson pulled up a comprehensive analysis of human propaganda technologies. "Look at how they weaponize information," he said, highlighting a series of complex communication networks. Social media platforms became psychological warfare systems more effective than any traditional weapon. The ability to spread information, misinformation, create and destroy narratives with unprecedented speed. These were the true weapons of human conflict. Economic sanctions became psychological weapons more devastating than physical attacks. The ability to isolate, pressure, and systematically dismantle entire national infrastructures without firing a single physical projectile. Humans had transformed economic interaction into a form of psychological warfare that could cripple entire civilizations. The most chilling revelations came from their approach to technological psychological warfare. Cyber systems that could penetrate communication networks. Algorithms designed to manipulate human emotion and decision-making. Information networks that could create and destroy entire political narratives in moments. A junior researcher discovered something even more disturbing. Humans didn't just respond to psychological challenges. They actively created psychological environments that forced opponents into predetermined response patterns. Game theory taken to its most extreme conclusion. Military training files revealed a fundamental approach to conflict that went far beyond traditional strategic thinking. Psychological vulnerability wasn't just a potential weakness, it was the primary target of human strategic planning. Economic systems became psychological warfare platforms. Corporate competition transformed into complex psychological manipulation systems. Even entertainment and cultural productions were carefully constructed psychological tools designed to shape global perception. The most alarming aspect was their ability to create psychological systems that operated on multiple levels simultaneously. A single communication could serve multiple strategic purposes: diplomatic communication, economic pressure, cultural manipulation, all wrapped into a single interaction. Language itself became a weapon. Diplomatic communication was a carefully constructed minefield of potential psychological triggers. Every word, every pause, every diplomatic exchange was a carefully calculated psychological operation. Dr. Henderson's comprehensive analysis revealed a fundamental truth about human psychological warfare. It wasn't about direct confrontation. It was about creating entire ecosystems of influence that could systematically dismantle an opponent's psychological infrastructure. Their approach to conflict resolution was equally complex. Diplomatic negotiations weren't about finding mutual ground. They were carefully constructed psychological battlefields where every interaction was a potential strategic opportunity. Intelligence gathering had been transformed into a comprehensive psychological manipulation system. Espionage wasn't about collecting physical information. It was about understanding and manipulating psychological ecosystems. Cultural productions, movies, literature, music, became sophisticated psychological warfare tools. The ability to shape global perception through narrative manipulation was perhaps their most sophisticated weapon. As the research team compiled their findings, a profound silence settled over the chamber. They were looking at more than a species approach to conflict. They were examining a fundamental reimagining of psychological interaction. Humans didn't just engage in psychological warfare. They had elevated it to an art form that defied every known galactic model of conflict and communication. The galaxy would never be the same. The technology analysis chamber glowed with impossible complexity. Holographic displays cascaded with human technological development records, each stream a testament to a species that didn't just advance technology. They consumed it, transformed it, and reinvented it with breathtaking speed. Dr. William Thompson stood at the center of the display, his analysis tools struggling to map the exponential growth of human technological innovation. This wasn't linear progression. This was technological evolution on steroids. "They don't develop technology," he muttered to his research partner, Dr. Emily Rodriguez. "They hunt it." The historical records told a story of unprecedented technological adaptation. Each global challenge became a crucible of innovation. Economic depressions, world wars, environmental challenges, resource limitations. Where other species saw obstacles, humans saw opportunities for radical transformation. The Industrial Revolution was their first true technological breakthrough. In mere decades, they transformed from agrarian societies to complex industrial powerhouses, steam engines, mass production, electrical grids. Each innovation came not through careful, measured progress, but through explosive, competitive development. Communication technologies demonstrated their most terrifying adaptive capabilities. The telegraph, telephone, radio, television, internet. Each technological leap happened with increasing speed, each innovation building upon the last with a momentum that defied traditional technological progression models. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a comprehensive timeline of computing technology. The progression was mind-bending. From massive room-sized computers to pocket-sized devices, more powerful than entire research facilities from just decades earlier. Moore's Law wasn't just a prediction, it was an understatement of human technological capabilities. The most alarming aspect was their approach to technological development. Humans didn't just improve existing technologies. They completely reimagined them. Incremental improvement was for lesser species. Humans preferred total technological revolution. Mobile communication technologies illustrated this perfectly. Not content with simple wireless communication, They created entire ecosystem platforms that transformed how societies functioned. Communication wasn't just about information exchange. It became a complex social and economic system that reshaped human interaction. Genetic engineering revealed another layer of their technological madness, where other species approached biological modification with extreme caution. Humans dove in with a combination of creativity and ruthless pragmatism. They didn't just study genetic structures. They began to view genetics as a technology to be programmed, modified, redesigned. Space exploration technologies demonstrated their most impressive adaptive capabilities. From the first rudimentary rockets to complex interplanetary exploration systems, they transformed space from an impossible frontier to a potential playground in mere decades. The research team discovered something even more disturbing. Human technological development wasn't centralized. It was a decentralized, almost chaotic system where multiple independent groups competed and collaborated simultaneously. Corporate research laboratories, university research centers, independent inventors, government projects, each worked both in competition and in subtle collaboration, creating a technological ecosystem that was infinitely more adaptive than any centralized system. Artificial intelligence development showed their most radical approach to technological innovation. While other galactic civilizations approached AI with extreme caution, humans created entire ecosystems of technological learning that could adapt and evolve at unprecedented rates. Quantum computing, nanotechnology, renewable energy systems. Each technological domain became a battleground of innovation where traditional limitations were viewed as temporary challenges to be overcome. Dr. Thompson's comparative charts were impossible to ignore. Human technological innovation rates weren't just steeper than other species, they were exponential, defying every known predictive model. Each technological barrier became an opportunity for radical reimagination. Environmental challenges became technological opportunities. Climate change mitigation technologies, renewable energy systems, sustainable agriculture technologies. Where other species saw existential threats, humans saw complex engineering problems to be solved. Medical technologies demonstrated their most impressive adaptive capabilities. Genetic therapies, nanomedicine, artificial organ development. They didn't just treat diseases. They began to view human biology as a complex system to be understood, modified, and improved. As the research team compiled their findings, a profound silence settled over the chamber. They were looking at more than a technological progression. They were examining a fundamental disruption to everything known about technological development. Humans didn't just develop technology. They hunted it. They consumed it. They transformed it. The galaxy would never be the same. The breakthrough came during a marathon research session that had stretched across multiple galactic standard cycles. Dr. Emily Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, her eyes reflecting the complex web of human data that now covered every surface of the research chamber. "We've been looking at this all wrong," she announced, her voice cutting through the tense silence. The Zorn Confederation's top researchers had been struggling to categorize humanity. Were they a technological species, a psychological anomaly, a biological outlier? The answer, Rodriguez realized, was far more complex and terrifying. Humans were cognitive apex predators. Not through physical strength, not through technological superiority, but through an unmatched capacity to hunt, acquire, and transform knowledge itself. The historical records told a story of relentless cognitive evolution. Every challenge became an opportunity for intellectual expansion. Economic depressions, global conflicts, environmental catastrophes. Where other species saw threats, humans saw complex puzzles to be solved. Dr. William Thompson pulled up a comprehensive analysis of human learning systems. Educational institutions weren't just knowledge transfer mechanisms. They were sophisticated hunting grounds where intellectual capabilities were constantly tested, challenged, and expanded. From early tribal knowledge sharing to complex global information networks, Humans had transformed learning into a competitive ecosystem. Knowledge wasn't a static resource to be preserved. It was a living, breathing system to be constantly challenged, dismantled, and rebuilt. The most alarming aspect was their approach to interdisciplinary thinking. Most galactic species specialized. Humans weaponized generalist knowledge. A medical researcher might draw insights from musical theory. An engineer might find solutions in biological systems. Their ability to create connections across seemingly unrelated domains was nothing short of miraculous. Psychological research revealed a fundamental difference in human cognitive processing. Where other species had rigid thought patterns, humans possessed an almost liquid intelligence. They didn't just solve problems. They reimagined the very nature of problem solving. Dr. Marcus Chen highlighted a series of historical scientific breakthroughs. Each major discovery wasn't just an incremental improvement. It was a complete reimagining of existing knowledge structures. Einstein's relativity, quantum mechanics, genetic engineering. Each breakthrough shattered existing understanding. Their approach to artificial intelligence demonstrated this cognitive hunting behavior most dramatically. Humans didn't just create intelligent systems. They created entire ecosystems of cognitive exploration. Machine learning algorithms that could learn, adapt, and evolve at unprecedented rates. The research team discovered something even more disturbing. Human cognitive capabilities weren't limited by biological constraints. They were constantly expanding their intellectual reach through technological augmentation. Educational technologies, cognitive enhancement research, information processing systems. Their scientific method wasn't just a research approach. It was a sophisticated hunting strategy for understanding the universe. Hypothesis, experiment, observation, dismantling, rebuilding. Each scientific investigation was a complex cognitive hunt that transformed existing knowledge. Cultural productions became additional evidence of their cognitive hunting capabilities. Art, music, literature. Each creative domain was another arena for cognitive exploration. They didn't just create. They constantly challenged existing understanding of creativity itself. Mathematical and theoretical research showed their most impressive cognitive capabilities. Abstract thinking that could transform theoretical concepts into practical applications. The ability to create entire new branches of knowledge where none existed before. Dr. Rodriguez's comprehensive analysis revealed a fundamental truth. Humans weren't just processing information. They were actively hunting knowledge with a predatory intelligence that defied traditional understanding. Their cognitive ecosystem was decentralized and infinitely adaptable. Universities, research centers, independent researchers, corporate laboratories, each worked in a complex, competitive, and collaborative network that could rapidly explore and transform knowledge domains. Philosophical and ethical reasoning demonstrated an even more complex cognitive capability. They didn't just accept existing moral frameworks. They constantly challenged, dismantled, and reconstructed ethical understanding. Each moral challenge became an opportunity for cognitive expansion. Language itself became a hunting ground for cognitive exploration. Translation technologies, linguistic research, communication systems that could bridge not just language barriers, but entire conceptual frameworks. As the research team compiled their findings, a profound silence settled over the chamber. They were looking at more than a species' cognitive capabilities. They were examining a fundamental disruption to everything known about intelligent life. Humans didn't just think. They hunted knowledge with a ferocity that bordered on the pathological. The galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Chamber of the Zorn Confederation High Council was a study in controlled tension. Holographic displays flickered with human research data, casting an ethereal blue light across the faces of the most powerful decision-makers in known space. Captain Michael Harrison's comprehensive report lay at the center of the chamber, a document that would reshape galactic political understanding forever. "We cannot ignore the evidence," Harrison began, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the revelation. Humanity represents an unprecedented threat to everything we understand about intelligent life. The council chambers fell into a heavy silence. Traditional galactic diplomacy had no framework for dealing with a species like humans. They weren't conquerors in the traditional sense. They were something far more dangerous, a species that could transform any situation to their advantage. Senior diplomat Krelek stood, his iridescent carapace shifting colors, a biological tell of extreme emotional complexity. "The data is unambiguous," he stated. "Humans are not just another developing species. They are a fundamental disruption to galactic ecological and political systems." The research compilation was devastating in its comprehensiveness. Technological innovation that defied predictive models. Psychological manipulation systems more complex than entire diplomatic networks. A cognitive approach to existence that saw every limitation as an opportunity for radical transformation. Dr. Emily Rodriguez presented the most critical findings. Humans weren't just a potential threat. They were an active, adaptive system that could potentially destabilize entire galactic structures without even intending to do so. Some council members advocated for immediate preemptive action, complete isolation, technological quarantine, potential extinction protocols. Others argued for careful observation and controlled engagement. "We cannot approach them like any other species," Rodriguez emphasized. Her research files revealed a species that transformed every interaction into a potential strategic opportunity. Traditional diplomatic protocols would be catastrophically naive. The military advisors presented their most disturbing scenarios. Human technological development wasn't just rapid, it was exponential. Their space exploration capabilities, while currently limited to their own solar system, showed a rate of advancement that was terrifyingly unpredictable. Economic analysts painted an equally complex picture. Human economic systems were adaptive ecosystems that could rapidly transform in response to any challenge. Traditional galactic economic warfare strategies would be completely ineffective. A heated debate erupted. The xenobiological research team demonstrated how humans had systematically eliminated every potential competitor on their home planet. Their approach to survival wasn't about peaceful coexistence. It was about strategic transformation and elimination of potential threats. They hunt opportunities like other species hunt prey. One researcher noted, highlighting a comprehensive analysis of human technological and cultural development. The most moderate voices suggested a carefully managed first contact protocol. But even these proposals were fraught with potential disaster. Every potential interaction scenario resulted in multiple complex potential outcomes, each more unpredictable than the last. Dr. William Thompson presented a simulation of potential human responses to various first contact scenarios. The results were mind-bending. Humans didn't just respond to external stimuli. They actively transformed the parameters of any interaction. Diplomatic strategists realized the fundamental challenge. Humans couldn't be contained. They couldn't be predicted. They could only be understood. And even that seemed an impossible task. The psychological warfare research was particularly alarming. Humans had developed communication systems that could simultaneously serve multiple strategic purposes. A single diplomatic exchange could be an economic negotiation, a cultural exploration, and a potential threat assessment, all simultaneously. Military advisors presented their most conservative recommendation: total observation, no direct contact, complete stealth monitoring. But even this approach seemed dangerously optimistic given human technological capabilities. As the debate continued, a fundamental truth became increasingly clear. Humans were not just another species to be categorized and managed. They were a force of nature, a cognitive and technological system that could potentially reshape entire galactic structures. Captain Harrison's final recommendation was simple and terrifying. "We must be prepared," he said, "for a species that doesn't just adapt to challenges, a species that actively hunts and transforms them." A High Council vote was unanimous, though the reasoning was complex. Careful observation, absolute preparedness, and above all, a recognition that the galaxy had encountered something unprecedented. Humanity represented more than a potential threat. They were a fundamental disruption to everything known about intelligent life. The galaxy would never be the same. The observation vessel hung at the edge of the solar system, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to human detection. Inside, the research team of the Zorn Confederation compiled their final comprehensive analysis of humanity, a report that would redefine everything known about intelligent life in the galaxy. Dr. Emily Rodriguez stood before the primary research display, her fingers tracing the complex web of human data that now represented years of intensive study. What they had discovered was far beyond a simple species profile. They had uncovered a fundamental disruption to every known model of intelligent existence. "They are not conquerors," she murmured, reviewing the final compilation. "They are something far more dangerous." The human ecosystem was a living, breathing entity of unprecedented complexity, not a civilization in the traditional sense, but a dynamic, adaptive system that transformed every limitation into an opportunity for expansion and innovation. Their space exploration, while currently limited to their own solar system, revealed a species that viewed cosmic exploration as an existential imperative. Every mission was not just scientific research. It was a hunting expedition for knowledge, resources, and potential opportunities. Dr. William Thompson's technological analysis demonstrated a species that didn't just develop technology. They consumed it, transformed it, reimagined entire technological paradigms with a speed that defied comprehension. The most alarming aspect was their approach to potential challenges: climate change, resource limitations, biological constraints. Where other species saw insurmountable obstacles, humans saw complex engineering problems to be solved. Genetic research showed a species actively beginning to control its own evolutionary path, not through careful, measured modifications, but through a ruthless, creative approach that viewed biological limitations as temporary challenges to be overcome. Psychological profiles revealed a cognitive ecosystem that was simultaneously competitive and collaborative. Humans didn't just solve problems. They created entire new frameworks of understanding with each challenge. Their communication networks were living systems more complex than most species' entire civilizational infrastructures. Not just information exchange, but sophisticated hunting grounds for knowledge, opportunity, and strategic positioning. Economic systems demonstrated an adaptive capability that bordered on the biological. Global economic challenges became catalysts for radical innovation. Financial limitations transformed into opportunities for technological and social restructuring. The most chilling revelation was their potential for collective action. Despite apparent social and political divisions, humans could rapidly mobilize entire global resources when faced with significant challenges. A species that could simultaneously compete internally and collaborate externally. Military strategists had discovered something fundamental. Human conflict wasn't about territorial expansion or resource acquisition. It was a complex ecosystem of psychological, technological, and strategic transformation. Cultural productions became additional evidence of their adaptive capabilities. Art, music, literature. Each domain was another arena for cognitive exploration and systematic challenge of existing understanding. Dr. Marcus Chen's comprehensive linguistic analysis showed a communication system that was itself a form of cognitive hunting. Language wasn't just a tool for information exchange. It was a sophisticated mechanism for creating, dismantling, and rebuilding conceptual frameworks. The philosophical implications were even more profound. Humans didn't just accept existing moral and ethical frameworks. They actively challenged, dismantled, and reconstructed ethical understanding with each generation. Their approach to artificial intelligence demonstrated their most radical cognitive capabilities. Not content with creating intelligent systems, they were developing entire ecosystems of cognitive exploration that could learn, adapt, and evolve at unprecedented rates. As the research team compiled their final findings, a profound understanding settled over the observation chamber. Humans were not just another species to be categorized and managed. They were a force of nature, a cognitive and technological system that could potentially reshape entire galactic structures. Captain Michael Harrison's final recommendation was both simple and terrifying. Prepare, he said, not for conquest, not for conflict, but for a fundamental reimagining of what intelligent life can be. The Zorn Confederation's final report would change everything. Humanity represented more than a potential threat or an interesting scientific study. They were a fundamental disruption to everything known about intelligent existence, a species that didn't just adapt to the universe, a species that hunted the very fabric of possibility itself. The galaxy would never be the same.